The phrase safe travels is used ironically when someone hopes to be extremely fortunate. How many times have I been told safe travels now? I don't know. I'm paranoid about it now. Are they making fun of me? I have no idea. Welcome back to Roadwarden. Last time we finished off a bunch of quests, well, a few quests, and cleared a cavern of some skeletons, and really just did pretty well, all things considered. We got a lot of money, and we explored a lot of the peninsula. The only thing we have left to explore now is the heart of the forest, which will be first up today. After I get some food, I think. Yes, I am in desperate need of food, actually. It is morning, though. Okay, let's see. If it is 2 hours to Pelt of the North. Or 2 and a bit hours. This fallen tree will slow me down as well. Doesn't help. No, nothing to do here. I'll just keep travelling onwards. Hear the gate closing. The guards are watching you from the wall. Some of them hold spears, others seem more curious and hostile. Roadwarden, you hear a familiar but firm voice of Dalit. You ain't walking inside. This is about the berries. If you wish so. You can be a liar and a thief, but not in our house. Return the tools and pay a coin for being a bother. You can't see if her crossbow is low. Yeah. Lost a hook, the bucket, and the coin. Yeah, no, that was just unfortunate timing where I couldn't actually pick the berries either. See, that wasn't so hard. Next time, don't muck around. Foggy has a message for you. The innkeeper listens to Foggy's words patiently, then crosses his arms and leans back, lost in his thoughts. Seems like she won't be played so easily. After you mention the answer, he tells you to relax. You'll have it soon. See, I've lost her first share. Assyrian was meant to deliver it to her. Never happened. I don't want to waste more, but she doesn't need to know it. He raises a bowl that sits nearby and reveals a few dragon bones. He counts off 5 of them. Tell her this. Asterion lost your coin. I'm now in debt. Let's be partners for now. I'll send you more once I have it, but I don't promise anything. He pushes the coins towards you, observing them like a hawk. They are yours. Just help me keep the charade going. Now and later. It's important to me. Why even bother? He makes a nervous hiss as he breathes through his teeth. I plan to sell her furs in late autumn, and I hope she'll keep sending people here whenever they stop at her place. I want to stay on her good side. She doesn't get hurt in any way. Bah, I'll spread a good word about her if it comes to it. And if the winds change and the city folk start trading here once the roads get safer, you meet your eyes, I may return our deal. Okay, I'll cover for you. Old Pegos has the plague. He sighs and puts his muscled arm on his head, then asks you about the state of the village and the symptoms you know of. After a short conversation, he observes the counter. I was planning to get in touch with those stonecutters. Thank you for bringing me the news. Let's hope they can make it till spring. You have anything you'd like to buy? Iron scraps. 6 coins, deal. Back my things. Show me your wares. Set of 5 arrows for a crossbow. That's pretty decent, actually. Yeah, that's 3, and we can buy more tomorrow. But I have no fish to sell. So I need to go outside, head to the armourer, patch up my gambeson. Nice. Okay. Okay, go to the well, wash the shell. Right. We're at midday now. I feel like we can't get too deep into the heart of the forest now. I was supposed to talk to the guards about something. I met Quintus, the one who trained with your team. He may need your help. You explained the difficult situation he finds himself in, putting emphasis on his wounds and food issues. Listening to your conversation, the nearby guards surround you, forming a circle together with the boar, and ask you if Quintus is in one piece. Your tale causes the tension to give way to jokes. He's so scared of the wrath of the herds that he'll sooner eat his bloody crossbow than learn how to use it, says one of the older women. Let's give the poor guy a break, Delit interrupts, which is not welcomed by a one-eyed man who comments that he's not even here. After another minute, she grins at you. Thanks for telling us. We'll change some plans and get in touch with him during our next trip. Come on, not that. The same man chirps in, but quiets down under the redhead's stare. About the goblins. Shoot, price is 10. Still haven't fully explored it. We'll return later. Just a moment. She runs in front of you, cutting your way with her wide grin. Want to help us out? I spoke with our boss and I kind of need a rider. What do you need? We could use another pair of hands here, someone who knows their way around the woods. You start to explain that you would rather stick to the saddle, but she waves it off. So help me find a better soul. There are 2 people I've heard would like to join us. Erastos from Howler's Dell and Cassia from Gale Rocks. She rubs the side of her boar, then pushes it away gently, as if she's asking a child to play by itself for a few minutes. Thing is, we already have 2 hunters who used to live in these places, and they told me they ain't all too eager to welcome them here. I'd like you to speak with them both and ask the folks from their tribes about them. Before I make a decision whom I should invite, I need to be sure they can handle the job. What's in it for me? Coins, duh, she wiggles. How about 5? I'll bring you a few more if you amaze me with all the news you bring. Why not Quintus? Your question sparks playful comments from her companions. He's a great friend, she admits, but he can't be trusted with more delicate tasks. When possible, we would rather avoid using muscle alone. What matters the most is getting out of trouble with as few scratches as possible. Which one's Quintus again? Oh, the gatekeeper. Yeah, okay. No, he's a dumbass. Who is Aristos? A trapper a few months ago who told a passing by a caravan he wanted to leave his home, and asked him to bring us his message. One of his past neighbours told me he remembers Aristos as a weak, quiet boy. I ain't sure he knows how to fight, but we would rather use traps anyway. Cassia? She mentioned to Asterion that she would like to come here. She's a guard, but I've heard she's more of a talker than a fighter. Gale Rocks is so far away I'd really prefer to not travel there, but if she's the better choice I may have no option. I'll tell you if I learn anything. Maybe I really got to deal with these ruins then. Okay. Okay, the barren fields. Use the weird sapling. You remove the linen sack and shake off the soil from the roots, then dig a hole and plant a sapling in the middle of the field. Just to be sure you don't water it. All you can do now is wait, so you brush sodal for a bit and make sure the saddle doesn't bother it. When you return, the plant is dark from sickness, dried up, withered. The field must have been corrupted, though seeing how there are already some plants growing from it, the spell is fading away. The curse is likely as old as the last harvest. Go somewhere else. Okay. Turn to the main square. You're almost sure something hides in the largest building. Quick save. Check it out, prepare my axe. You step cautiously and take a peek into the cellar-like entrance hall, without any source of light other than sun that enters through the door. There are dismantled barrels and a few scraps of iron lying around. all of them looking like the result of human work, not time. You notice no burnt wood, no smell of putridity. The whiff of urine is complemented by goblin feces and trails of blood. You see torn to pieces tent and clothes, broken tools, and a crossbow damaged beyond repair. The road to the upper floor seems to be blocked by the collapsed roof and loose wooden beams. There are scraps of rusting iron on the ground, detached from now destroyed furniture. Such metal parts can be worth quite a bit. You can safely assume that the owner won't return for them. Okay, let's grab the iron scraps. Oh, 2 quarrels as well. You walk carefully, avoiding blood and dirt. Some of the iron and steel is touched by rust, but a blacksmith will make good use of them. Use your knife to turn the tent into rags and wrap them over the roughly edged pieces of your loot, making sure they won't cut Sodor's back during your ride. You find only one other thing of value, 2 short arrows made for a crossbow. You wonder where the owner's shell is. Okay, let's set the fish trap up again. Okay, what do we have for time? Not a whole lot, really. It'll give me 4 hours, and then I'm just heading straight into there. It might be worth going through the gate. Can't really explore any more of this place. Okay, quick save. But I do want to deal with this area. Approach the guards. About the goblins. I have your dragons, and there's no soul in the entire ruins. Let's get to it. He reaches out for the coins and hides them without counting. Cheers, Buta. She looks at the sun. Give us 2 days to prepare for the raid. We'll handle it with a small team. There's a different kind of confidence in her words, and her stance is more like a leader's. You just stay away from the ruins until then, or you may get a random quarrel between your ears. Yeah. Okay. Now we can go to Beholder. Might end up resting in whatchamacallit up here. Okay, approach the altar, make an offering. Spirit rock. As soon as you lay it on the stone tab, the pebble hisses for less than a single breath, then shatters into dozens of tiny rocks, not much larger than grains of sand. The tree greets your offering with the sound of moving, stretching branches. Quick save. Try something else. Which item would you like to sacrifice? I'll walk away. I don't have any more magic items. Approach the altar, make an offering. Can I sacrifice my own blood? How much? I clench my teeth and hurt myself quite a bit. No, let's not do that. Take a closer look at the roots. When you touch it, it's soft. What do you do to it? Speak. Oh, I can't do anything to that. Okay. Alright, we're off to Helder's Dell then. Hopefully we can buy some food over here. How much does this cost? Is it 2? Here you go. 1. Okay, that's fine. Then work in peace. Timo, Washwoman, Paulus from Gale Rocks. Sounds like a worker, but make sure he'll not oppose the marriage rites. His village follows the rite. I need his word he'll leave his spirit behind him. If he agrees, her teeth are yellowish but healthy. He can come in full. We'll see how we get along. Okay, cool. Ipis, the druidess. Can you tell me anything about Erostos? Looks like the other elders. I doubt this boy did something that would require the attention of city folks. Which one is Erostos? Nobody knows. Okay, cool. Trader. Looking for flowers that grow like orange tulips but with larger leaves. Do you know anything about it? Ask Bions. Her wives had some of those. After a few minutes, he brings you a clay pot with a plant not larger than your hand. There's a single flower and a couple of healthy leaves. Back in spring, Asterion asked us to grow them, but he's no longer around. That little stinker. Either their presence annoys me now. 3 dragons and I'll give you what's above the ground. Maybe it'll grow again. You ask him what he knows about it. He picks it up and looks at it closely, as if it's his first time seeing it. Well, the forest speaker from the southern cave told us there's a herb for potions. Snake bait, he said. Think it lures serpents? I'm not sure. This is a pleasant taste, I think. Okay, here's 3 dragons. Any new issues with Aristos? He wags his long finger. What do you mean? He broke something again? And what now? He wants me to pay you back? Tell him to fix it on his own. I don't remember who Aristos is. Here's the ring. 1 dragon. I don't know about that. 7 rings for it? Yeah, sure. Deal. Now we'll hold on to the ring. Okay. What do you have for sale? The answer is I need food. Linen sheets. I think Heller's Dell needs linen, but not ready to go that way quite so yet. Innkeeper need rations. There we go. Teeth cleaning set. Bought 2 food rations. 2 food rations. Let's just buy a bunch of rations. If we're going to sell 5 to get through the gate, then we'll have 6 to continue on with. And we'll buy the teeth cleaning set as well. Ah, someone dreams of a healthier smile. He rubs his hands. But before you take it, he puts the box in front of you. I've got the hazelnut twigs in the sheath, but can replace them in no time. What taste are you looking for? Hazelnut is fine. With a smile, he pushes the set towards you. What else do you need? Have a chance to talk with Aristos again? His eyes get gentle. Poor kid, is he in trouble again? You mentioned that someone wants to offer him a job, but the innkeep lets out a sigh and leans against the counter. Oh, that's the trapper, right. Maybe that's one for the better. Lately he's been struggling around here. While he's far from eager to share the details, one part in particular catches your attention. The thing with bad affection. You see, my wife was clear he ought to stay away from our daughters until both him and they pass 20, but it's easier said than done. Thanks. Okay, Bion. What do you think of Aristos? Better than I know you. Okay, that's what you know. Jeez, these are some good clothes. Would make you look like a merchant. Okay. Good luck. I was meant to speak with Aristos for Dalit. You ask an archeress if she could point you to the trapper, and she directs you beyond the walls to the edge of the northern pasturage. There, next to the creek, a lone wanderer examines simple box traps. They're placed every few steps, and judging by the man's empty sack, so far all of them have turned out to be empty. Hearing your steps, the man sends you a glance, but soon returns to his task. In the city, he'd barely be seen as an adult. His facial hair is sparse and light, and he's shorter and slimmer than most women in his tribe. His elegant blue tunic suits his tanned skin, and the long dagger he's carrying has a carved handle. He's crouching, looking towards the other bank and playing with blades of grass. Dellet, I heard you're interested in heading south. He turns his head only slightly, as if it's easier than raising his voice, but he still avoids looking at you. She did. Are you taking me there? His voice is surprisingly deep, adding to his years. What are you going to bring to the table? He waves at the boxes. You see, caught a hare yesterday. Not in a box, in a snare. I can cut and dress pelts too. He waits for a bit longer, but he adds nothing more. Won't miss home? He drops the grass on the ground, stands up and wipes his hands against his pants. Nah, no one to talk to. Can you survive the woods? He gives you a puzzled look. Why would I? I'll go with the group. Dig holes, sharpen sticks. 'Tis not like I'm going to put anyone in danger. Much more difficult than you think. His voice grows frustrated. All hunters act as if they're masters of the woods, but they die all the same. He grabs the nearest box. One of the walls turns out to be loose, so he adjusts it quickly. He starts to wander away. Just give me a chance to do what you want, and I'll do it. I can go any day, any hour. Guess that's it. Eric's, I want more rations, because I also need to get into Hellersdale. Ooh, do I risk spending one more? No, that should be fine, I think. Thanks. The Mia. Restos. She makes an odd grimace, trying to smile while expressing confusing. I doubt there's much to say here, he's just the trapper, not the best one. Okay. What do you think about the scavenger who was here before? Ah, he's still alive, she says with distaste. He brought us some news from the north and paid off his debt to us, but he's an idler and a prattler, drinks too. The farther away he stays from here, the better. News. Looks like Layson is looking to purchase Foggy Lake. It's far from ideal. Allowing two inns to be controlled by a single soul may cause trouble for the third one. She points at Ape Ale with her thumb. And in this case, the third one is the one that really matters. She leans back and starts to tap the table with her fingers. What I have to say. You surely don't avoid hard conversations, do you? Most city folk feel hesitant when they meet pagans, he smirks. But the hand clenched around her deer buckle makes you alert. Are you that open to strangers, or did the United the United Church loosen its grasp? I'm interested in who could take their place. The guilds and artisans, the army. Oy. Guilds and artisans, the army. I don't really know much about the city. I guess I'm just making it up when you really think about it. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. We'll just go with the maritime trade to keep stuff alive. The roads might turn wild, but the sea won't ever sate its hunger for ships. People who lost everything are more likely to risk it all. She still smiles, but her eyes are melancholic. When the world shakes, it's also time to change the old order. Maybe it's the only time. Doesn't trust me enough for anything yet. Okay. Do I rent a room? I am hungry. Okay, let's... Oh, we have wild plants. Eat that, eat that. Okay, and we can just sleep on a mufflin pelt. We don't really care how we look at this point. The rains once again hit the ground, interrupting your sleep. Another day of muddy roads. Okay, I guess we'll go through the gate then. It's still blocked, huh? Yeah. Okay, to the gate. Have you ever met Arrestos? Now, I remember him trading with my neighbours once or twice, but I never spoke with him. Bit of a wimp. Okay, here are your food rations. He gives you a radiant smile. He cups his large scar's hand, waiting for you to give him the package. Once you're done, he opens a sack of nuts and shoves them into his mouth. The bandage is the only thing that stops him looking for him, like a hamster. I'd like you to open the gate. I don't think you should enter the wilds, but, you know, if you say so. And this is where I'm going to make a bigger save. From the sounds of it, this place is a bitch. Do it. I enter the forest. You lift the bar on your side of the gate and wait for Quintus. You hear him pressing his feet into the wall as he climbs down with the help of his rope, getting to the ground swiftly. He gives you a serious look from the open gate. Safe travels, Warden. Travel as far east as I can. The forest gives way to rocks and green hills, but among the tall trees are numerous monkeys sitting in small groups, loud yet shorter than half your size. They distort the green leaves with their red, brown, white and blue fur. As you approach their territory, their excitement grows. They climb up and down the trunks, swaying on vines, jump between branches, or hang down, putting to use their long tails. They throw at you countless angry glances and grunts, but also cones, branches, and chestnuts. A piece of their fresh feces lands close to Sodal, but the pack's aim is rather miserable. 2 shots from the crossbow? How many quarrels do I have currently? 5. No, I'd rather hold on to them for now. Just endure it. Okay, well, okay. You try to shield yourself with your cloak, but you enter an avalanche of missiles. One of the rocks painfully hits your arm, but your gambeson is in great shape and softens the blow. Soon after that, your shoulder blocks something from reaching your forehead. You rush Sodal, which is more than happy to follow your command. The monkeys follow you, swinging between trees, until they reach the edge of their territory, letting out triumphant shouts. Every minute or so, you get lost in the dense woods. When possible, you stick to the remains of the beaten path, clearing the overgrown thicket that blocks your way. But it would take many more travellers to sustain such a trail. The land around you may lack greens, but is far from being empty. The fallen boughs and dead stumps, burrows and dead stumps, are slowly devoured by ants and mushrooms, a web-like labyrinth of wooden walls, while the white termites, larger than your hand, continue their never-ending march. Their guards notice your presence, but simply form a warning line in front of their workers. The trees are taller than the temple in the city, with trunks resembling the legs of giants. The shadows they cast are like carpet, and the few beams of light nourish the sparse bushes and ferns, the only plants that aren't choked by the rotting late summer leaves, shaped like toothed squares as large as your face. Now that I'm more familiar with this part of the forest, I may be able to find a smoother path. Okay. The road is bright, empty, surrounded by sparsely growing trees, gentle hills and meadows. It leads you to a cairn, a pile of rocks ranging in size from your abdomen to your fist. There is also quite a few tiny pebbles. A narrow, hardly passable trail leads south, but likely won't survive another year without travellers. Alright. Look for tracks that I found at the fallen tree. Without a doubt, the travellers were here, led by the person in hard heels, though there are more tracks around, both older and younger. Take a closer look at the cairn. It's wider than two people, standing side by side, and taller than Sodal. The grass surrounds it tightly. It must be years old, but could as just well be older than any villager in the north. You find rocks in many colours, including red, cream, white, black and blue, and many dotted or mixed ones. While the cairn stays firmly beneath your touch, it would be easy to shatter it with a pickaxe or a single swipe of a dragon. You also notice pieces of old chicken bones pressed among the rocks. Unfortunately, no coins. West, huh? Follow the tracks west. They soon turn north into an old game trail, wide enough for your mount to enter the thicket. After a few minutes, and with little effort, you reach an even wider trail. You get back in the saddle and ride uphill, following a convenient rocky trail covered in sunlight cleared of plants. Once you get to the top, you look around. From here you get a good view of the heart of the woods, and spot the smoke coming from the villages far in the distance. The further path ends at the ravine. You look over the edge at the gentle brook far below. The hole is too wide to be crossed with a jump, even for Sodal. You narrow your eyes. On the other side is a simple bridge made of logs and ropes, now rolled up and resting by a green shrub. Make a grappling hook out of the rope and curved bones. After the 12th attempt, it gets stuck between the stems of the shrub, and you pull the loop around a conveniently placed rock and put away the unessential equipment, including the armor. Once your legs are swinging in the air dozens of yards above the roaring river, you think about the warm beds and safe alleys of Hovlavin. Finally, you touch the other side. Your itching hands are red. Lift the wooden bridge and place it across the gully, and untie the rope. The trail is canopied by overhanging trees, and so narrow that your mount would struggle to turn around. Staying on foot, you grab the lead rope and follow the corridor carved in the lush thicket. Try to ignore the scent of rotting leaves. Soon after the path widens a bit. You notice a shell larger than your own torso. Its 8 legs are as long as you are tall, clinging to a tree that's in your way. You freeze. The dark, hairy thorax matches the browns of the plants. Examine the spider from a safe distance. What are you looking for? Eyes. The eyes and fangs seem to never move. Thorax. Thorax is close to the tree. Web? No web in sight. You're not sure how the spider manages to cling to the tree. Legs. You stare at the beast's legs, but they hardly ever move. If anything, all of them tremble at once. I don't think it's real. Unless it's really... Fang? Eyes and fangs seem to never move. Okay. Yeah. The spider's bristles are pointing towards the ground. It hardly ever shakes. Movement. The creature's movement occur only during the gusts of wind. Weak spot. No, okay. What else does a spider have? Path? The plants are pruned. You see hardly any grass, and there is even footprints. Yeah, it sounds like a fake husk or something. Or even worse, it's a trained spider. That's terrifying. What else can I choose to examine? You crouch. Some of the prints are fresh, yet there are no signs of combat by the spider's hideout. There we go. That's what else lies. Pretty sure it's dead. You step slowly, picking up a long branch resting at the side of the trail. Once you tap the abdomen, you let out a relieved sigh. You observe the spider's dried out shell. In such a humid place, you would expect it to rot. Total pulls the lead, begging to turn around. I comfort it with the sound of my voice. Yes! The path is beaten, yet your mount has to step over branches, large rocks, and even animal bones. While the trees aren't pruned, they grow sparse enough for you to have a good view of your surroundings. A pile of rotting logs, the remains of food, and even a broken wagon rest at the feet of the crag. You look up. The palisade has a massive gap in it, which now serves as a vantage point for a person you can't clearly see. They're holding an arrow on their strung bow, and while they aren't aiming at you, they would have enough time to shoot before you got close. You have a horse, the masculine voice announces loudly, then stares at you. I thought a mad deer was running, I did. Almost shot it in the nose. Another pause. Boo. I shout back. Boota, a road warden. The archer crouches, as if watching you 2 feet closer is going to make a difference. He shouts, but more towards someone behind the wall. Wait, another road warden? You sure do look like you rode through 10 swamps. Get up, but I've my eyes on you. I do. The hamlet could be a generation old, and while the freshly beaten paths and spread trash and newly fallen leaves and gathered rocks make it clear that dwellers are still altering their surroundings, the woods around you are filled with wildlife crowding in the tree, crowns, grasses and trunks. A boar flees up a path, keeping its eyes on you as it runs. A dragonling is drinking from the pond you just rode by. There are a few people gathered at the gate, and more of them approach you from behind. Count 8 of them in total, with only one female face among them. All are younger than 40, with weapons at their sides or in their hands. Simple flails, 2-handed axes on long halves, maces, spears, throwing clubs. Equipment so heavy and unwieldy that you can't be sure if it's meant to threaten you or to get through the skin of nearby monsters if necessary. Some of those who came through the open gate have bare chests displaying their scars and bandages, but the others are wearing heavy jackets and look nothing like pure farmers seeking shelter for a night. They observe your mount in silence, together with curious rooks sitting on top of the wall. Okay, quick save. I dismount smoothly and stand up upright, and give everyone a threatening glance. Most of the strangers meet your eyes. One of them puts his axe behind his belt, but then crosses his arms, returning your challenging look. Alright. Leave here every blade. Tie the beast somewhere. He points his thumb behind him. Leading your eyes to a loose stake of the palisade. Gloucey is on her way, he adds matter-of-factly, as if to regular waiting for an alehouse keeper. You follow his commands. From afar, you hear heavy footfalls of the person who joins you soon after. Her massive winter boots are made of a leather that still remembers the garnet dye of the past, and have wide and firm heels. The bronze of the decorative buckle is polished without a hint of green. Her emerald eyes are running over your mount and equipment, reaching your face last. And with little curiosity, she's broad-shouldered, with a muscular figure and a round face. The long, shining mail rests on a green ache tin, making noise with every movement of her arms. Her right hand is tapping the hilt of the sickle sword, a broad blade meant for chopping not just flesh but also twigs, sheathed at her side. The short, dark hair of a fighter is carefully cut and her skin is healthily tanned. It takes another few breaths for you to notice the other side of her appearance. While she's wider than anyone in sight, she's more than a head shorter than you. You spot the grey strands of her hair and wrinkles cut by scars on her cheeks and lips. Her hand is missing a thumb, explaining why the blade is on her right side, and an old bruise surrounding her left eye hinders her from fully opening it, so it's difficult for you to match your gaze. She must be quite a fighter. palfrey this time. Her confident, powerful voice matches her straight posture. She reaches for the bottom of Sodal's neck, slowly allowing it to accept the touch after a moment of hesitation. It's more for running than combat, I believe. The Sarian was dangerous, but slower, without much stamina. You look for a reason why she would lecture you about your own trade, then notice the curious eyes of her band listening to every word. May not be the first horse they've ever seen. Stranger, she looks at you again and steps back. Legs cramping up. I heard about your arrival to the peninsula, but I didn't expect we would see you at our doorstep. We don't have much to discuss. Let me tell you ain't stupid enough to provoke my hand. How do we want to do this? I really want to be tough and respected, maybe? Quick save. I don't provoke, I either cut or I don't. For now, let's have a talk. Her smile is brief, but marks her voice. With things to talk about now, I'm all ears. Take a stroll with me. I ain't missing a chance to enjoy the rest of the summer. The tension of the group around you isn't as thick, and as you follow the woman north, the others keep their distance. Guess I go north then. The neglected path leads to a pond through the rocks sticking out of the ground, fallen branches, and the rotten deck covering a wide puddle. There are signs of repairs made on the bridge for fishers, but there's also some broken logs and a boat with a large hole in its hull. Glaucia and two of her guards walk with you in silence, surrounded by screeching beasts around and above you. He takes leisurely strides, and as you step onto the bridge, looking across the pond, you can see that the woods surround it from all sides, like the walls of a dungeon chamber, with green and grey saurians basking both on the banks and in the shallow water. The frogs, flies, and black birds shatter any guise of peace. The wood beneath you is slippery. Whenever the woman makes a sudden movement, you flinch, preparing your shell to push her away. Don't have any doubts, she speaks calmly, looking into the distance. I have little trust to offer you, and even less patience. It's better that we meet this way instead of on the road. She turns towards you and moves her hand behind her back. But if you have no good reason to talk to me, you can scat right away. This land needs no soldiers, road warden, and chiefly no city folk. I could use your knowledge to help people. I'm sure you know these woods well. There are some who could use another hand, I agree. But there are also those who deserve nothing better than to be thrown into an elk pit. If you want my help, make me believe you can tell them apart. Without another word, she leads you back. Then through the gate. The old rotting roof is the only building is starting to bend under its own weight, but its condition is only slightly worse than that of the area around it. The broken tools, soggy planks and logs, broken fence of an animal pen, and the waist-high nettle leaves growing in every scrap of ground that's not been beaten down by boots. The hamlet smells of putridity. The screeching of animals isn't as overwhelming here, but unlike in other settlements, there's hardly any labour to fill the emptiness. The bandits either follow you or sit around idly. There's firewood gathered by the wall, and you see someone eating a piece of cold, roasted meat, but it seems like no one is eager to grab a hammer, a needle, or a carving knife. Glaucia doesn't stop, making you follow her around the long shelter. She keeps her eyes straight, not commenting on anything you walk by. With every step, her mail jangles slightly, breaking the silence. Your eyes either wander around or stare at the back of her head. Alright. I'd like to learn more about you. She doesn't stop. Are yourself a bard, she growls. Okay. May want to stay away from old Pagos struggling with a plague. She glances at you with her unmarked eyebrow raised, making a difference between the sizes of her eyes even more jarring. You think I don't know what's happening in my land? My land, she says. I don't need your rumors. Made Layson quite worried with your recent moves. She slows down. The two of you approach the old animal pen, though right now it's inhabited by only rooks and worms. She leans against the soggy fence which moans in protest. Her emerald eyes don't hide her surprise or perfectly imitate it. I suppose I should have expected Layson's boar eyes on me, but what does he want you to get from me exactly? To learn what you're trying to achieve, are you planning to attack its hunters? It takes her unusually long to answer. Alright, tell him this, stranger. Don't sweat. The right leads my blade, and dreams against the necromancers of White Marshes. Also bed with an ibex. Don't sweat it. I'm on a divine crusade against the necromancers of White Marshes. Go fuck a goat. Nice. Foggy mentioned some dark days pushed you into becoming a bandit. More of them than you can count, or do you think people leave their warm homes to pick easy coins? We have survivors from the long-gone village of Steep House, a lad forced into marriage by some old pricks with long beards. Cooper, whose daughter poisoned herself with a daffodil pie. A hunter whose home was lost in a fire. A shepherd who took an oath to clean these woods of wolves, a hungry thief who chose to run away instead of losing their arm. The guards are now more numerous. Some of them look down, casting at you shameful glances, while others meet your eyes, keeping their backs straight. We are all wronged by this land, Glaucia carries on, and as her steps grow springy, her mail becomes annoyingly loud, and our work will give us our pride back. Tell me anything about the undead in the north. Her armor clinks so loudly that a nearby rook flutters its wing, dashing to the wall. They are around. She meets your eyes, tapping the hilt of her sword. Why do you ask? They need to be dealt with, of course. She stares at you, then nods vigorously and turns away, carrying on with her walk. You've got a clear eye. There are some undead in the darkest thickets and caves, but they ain't anything more than a gentle rash on a shell filled with poison. White Marshes, with their dark arts and crazy warlocks, are the real danger, and part of our work is taking any bone we can get away from them. You ask her to say something more, and she slows down. They ain't merely using their own dead, outsider. They seek the shells in the woods, they scavenge for them, like. She waves at one of the rooks, which opens its mouth in objection. Shame on the villagers that let them do that. Do so. May the right drown them all. Cassia, Gale rocks. She sends an angry look towards the surprised rook. That good for nothing. Why, she's offering you a job. After you mention that you're just trying to learn more about her character, she walks in silence for a good minute. Let's merely say I'm not convinced she's capable of keeping her word, even though she promises a lot, and loudly so. Why White Marshes? And why don't you? She turns her head, giving you an annoyed glance. What good is a road warden if there are armies of awoken shells right under their nose? I'll put the necromancer's rule to an end. I just need to find a way. Your emerald eyes pierce through your skull. Good. Now let's see if you have any deeds to stand on, not words. For now, I have nothing to gain from telling you some stories. Fight for what's right or fall with all the others. She spares you a nod and ambles forward. Hey, what happened with that, cart? She keeps her pace, forcing you to stare at her. Here, then steps outside the gate, looking around. What do you think about that? I think you found it, indeed. She walks down the slope, speaking slowly as she takes careful steps. And whoever used to own it, they have vanished in the fogs they did. I followed the trail lit from the abandoned car, and here I am. She freezes, then turns around slowly, scowling at you. You notice how the slow twist of her wrist makes one of the guards step back, hiding his already drawn blade. Ain't going to explain myself to you. We needed tools and wares to sell, so we took them. The merchants are back in their homes with their skin untouched and togs on their backs. They knew the risk they took. You flinch when she reaches for your shoulder, but someone is already behind you, keeping you in her range. Her strong hand squeezes your flesh. Do we have a problem here? Quick save. Got a word I try to withstand her gaze? She looks away after a few long breaths, then frowns, her healthy eyes showing her surprise before glancing back at you. We said what we needed to. What else do you have for me? What the hell happened to Asterion? She doesn't spare you a glance, so? There are some who are convinced you had something to do with his disappearance. She stops in place with her heavy hand rests on your shoulder, pulling you down. You catch the weak scent of myrtle, a flower that grows in warmer lands and is often delivered by ships to Hovlavin. A bit like a sour fruit, a bit like mint. And who are those some? Ela. She takes her hand off you and continues her walk. I had something to discuss with him anyway. I'll use the opportunity to make him remember the value of silence. No, I think I want to go over that one another way. I let out a loud sigh. What do you want? You hear something between a grunt and a chuckle. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Okay. Don't want to bring up that Ela. Yeah, the carpenter. Yeah. Do you need assistance? She stops in place, then gestures at a soggy bench. Both of you sit down, but your eyes don't meet. Instead, you observe the dark birds that are pushing and pecking each other over old gruel spread among the nettles. And why would a Roadwarden want to help me? I smile. We all need friends, don't we? She takes a few heartbeats to respond. No, what I have is a family. She glances at the men who observe you from a distance, and I trust them more than I would any stranger. She leans back and looks at the clouds. But you can do some small things for me, and not for free. One of my lads has abandoned his post and taken something very valuable to me. He wants to start his life anew, so he won't use his name, but you'll recognize him. Speaks like someone from my village, she does. While her tone is sarcastic, her eyes remain serious. Young, strong, with a pretty face and blue eyes of a beaten cub. Shaves often. The last tog he had on his back was our black gambeson, matching his short hair. But if he has any wits, he sold it somewhere already. When she crosses one leg with another, her mail chinks so loudly it makes you flinch. She reaches for her boot, adjusting it with her broad fingers. He doesn't want to be found, but he may need a Roadwarden's help. If so, merely tell me where he hides, and I'll find him alright. She straightens up and rises to her feet, as if the conversation reached its conclusion. I'll drop you a few coins for the trouble, 4 maybe, or I can give you a handful of arrows for the crossbow. We don't need them, really. What did he take from you? A small supply of black powder? I was saving for a special occasion, for one thing. I'd be ready to forgive him, but betraying my trust and taking our secrets outside is beyond excuses. Why did he leave? He's weak, she states, but after seeing your frown, she puts his hand behind his back. He joined us not that long ago. He didn't have any drive, was merely bored with his old life, but was good enough with his knives to impress me. Turns out he wasn't ready for the change he took upon himself, and left before he paid his debt to me. What will you do with him? What he deserves. Nice. Cool. just let him walk away. Stop trying to anger me, outsider. Whatever you think of me, I ain't a hothead. When I draw my blade, she pauses, rubbing the hilt with her finger. I do so with conviction. Any tips on where to start? If I knew how to answer, I would have gone after him immediately. He was cautious, left our hunting group to take a leak, then sneaked away. The band assumed he got caught by a cat, but I told them to search our supplies. I doubt he took them for a walk, all right. I'll tell you once I learn anything. Tell you once I learn anything. Yeah, okay. I should go. Okay, so the hamlet goes to her. The pond. A man with a bare chest gets in your way. Where do you think you're going? We need no spies around here, and we ain't going to keep your ugly mug safe from the monsters. Buy yourself a tub and get in. Alright. Guess that's that then. Back to the cairn. Yeah, so that's the southern side of the lake. Okay, well that was a lot of progress. Okay, let's take the path south and see what's there. You grab Sodal's head and use your axe to get through the branches and tall grass. After a few minutes you reach a colourful meadow with orange, red and white flowers as tall as wheat field. The late summer scent lures all sorts of insects as well as tiny birds. The path ends at the edge of the glade. Okay, what do we know? Okay, we could keep an eye out for a cat then. You tether your mount to a tree and tread carefully, keeping your eyes and weapon high. Soon the nearest birds flee from your scream. You reach to your side and look down. A 100-legged worm as wide as your fist and maybe 3 feet long has crawled underneath your gambeson and chewed off a bit of flesh. You pull it by its tail and stretch out your arm. The creature wriggles in the air, incapable of bending its shell enough to scratch your hand. Okay, so if I quick load, go south, look at the ground instead. You tether your mount to a tree and tread forward carefully, keeping your eyes and weapons low. Soon a corpse hits the ground and you wipe the blood off your axe. You take a deep breath and crouch by the 100-legged worm, as wide as your fist and 3 feet long. It attempted to crawl up your boots, but you cut it through the red plates covering its armour with a confident cut. Seek anything of value. Your steps force the mice and insects to spread, but your presence remains hardly noticed by the colourful life around you. Flower for Eudocia. Hey! After a few minutes among the grasses, you move uphill to get a better view, and it just happens to be the spot where orange tulips grow. They don't resist your knife. Return to the cairn. Okay, making progress. Move to a different part of the forest. And let's go east. Your eyes wander between the wall of trees and shrubs on one side and the dirty pond on the other. The road itself is wide, covered with soggy logs that keep the ground from turning into mud, breaking under your mount's hooves, letting out what sounds like a sigh of relief. The water is insufferably stinks of carrion and is covered with a blanket of green plants and white flowers that draw countless buzzing insects. Even a horse shouldn't drink from it. Sodal tries to get familiar with the unusual pavement and speeds up to jump over a fallen trunk blocking your path. Once it lands, it breaks one of the logs in half. Soon after, you reach a massive black saurian resting on the ground, enjoying the light at the edge of the forest. It seems to be ignoring your presence. Once again, Sodal canters. Trust its instincts. Once the monster raises its head, you're already in the air, and the beast pushes itself away from the ground with its forelimbs, trying to catch any chunk of flesh with its massive jaws. But you safely hit the ground and return to a trot slowly. I pay attention to the dead trees sticking out of that pond. They look similar to that saurian. The colours of leaves range from greens to purples and overwhelm you with shadows. The stems of the shrubs twisted in all directions, seeking the slightest scraps of sunlight. The trees are not too tall, but their trunks are as wide as buildings. A neglected road has been carved into a thicket, an inch at a time. A corridor of plants with a floor made of pebbles that give way to saplings and vines. From time to time you pass by many terns, relics left by roaming dragons, unicorns and trolls, some of them still used by beasts, boars, striped cats, or packs of goblins. The birds are sharing their songs, as cheerful as ever. When necessary, I clear any thicket that's in Sodal's way. You reach a gap in the tunnel of plants. The meadow nourishes a lonely tree growing in the shadow of a rocky hill, surrounded by humble grasses. Near the tree roots, a wolf without fur is feasting on human corpse, unaware of your presence. I look around. You see no other creatures. The road in front of you is passable, and the birds in the sky seem harmless. The beast raises its head. Ears are shaking. It's standing on all fours, crouching forward, with blood dripping from a mash of canines. Its head, and especially its jaw, are wide and long, like those of a horse. Its brown shell is muscular, with pronounced shoulder blades, and hair resembling your arms, and a tuft of black fur at the end of a foot-long tail. The beast turns its head towards you. Its eyes are shining like charcoal. I attack. You get down. Shoot it with my crossbow. You have little time to aim as the large wolf strides towards you. The quarrel soars forward and the beast whimpers. The blood runs down its shoulder from the deep wound. It freezes for a moment, then gives you another glance. I wait for its attack, ready to use my advantage. It walks around you with a lowered head, seeking an opportunity and getting used to the wound. You hold your axe firmly, trying to tell anything from the creature's black eyes. I hit it with an axe throw, though it won't get pulled twice. The rotating blade lands between its eyes, cutting through the bone smoothly. For a few heartbeats, the wolf remains still, then tries to take a step. It falls, never to stand up again. After it stops breathing, I pick up my axe. You take a couple of deep, slow breaths and stretch out your arms. Sodal is looking around, stepping in place. Look at the beast. The inch-long canines stick out of the saurian-like maw. Its eyes are like two pieces of shining charcoal. A male too large to carry around, too skinny to cut away a nice piece of meat. Got myself a trophy. Takes a couple of strong hits with your battle axe, but it's not too bad. You grab the head by the ear, avoiding its eyes, and let the creek of blood spill onto the grass. You rotate it around a bit, shaking off as much flesh and scraps of brain as you can. You attach it to your saddle, hoping it won't besmear Sodal. At least it doesn't stench yet. You have a day or two before it starts to rot. Examine the corpse. Ah, there we go. Parts of its chest, face, neck and arms were turned into a red mush. The wolf didn't break any bones, not even the ribs. The first worms start to crawl over its blood-soaked clothes. The human was a male with brown skin and short black hair. His brown pants and green jacket were made of dyed leather and has no sacks, bags or equipment. But you spot a trail of blood leading into the trees. The creature must have dragged the shell from the deeper woods. Inside the left ear you spot a trinket made of animal bone, which contrasts with the dark skin and lures your eyes away from the blood. Knowing Ephraim's description, you have no doubts you found Vashel. Ooh, okay, quest, missing hunters. So Edmund is... can't remember. Oh, need to ask about Edmund still, I guess. Remove the earring from the corpse's ear. The dip bone earring. Consider burning the corpse. There's plenty of birds gathering at the edge of the meadow waiting for you to walk away from their next meal. The larger beasts will come soon. You don't have much time, surely not enough to make a pyre. Quick save. Church rites require that I set human remains on fire. I'll spare a few minutes doing the bare minimum. You grab the only boot worn by the corpse and drag it towards the middle of the trail, then spend some time surrounding it with dry sticks and grasses, then cover it with a single dry burrow. The guts are likely to put out the fire soon after your departure, but maybe you'll be lucky. You light a simple torch and set fire to a couple of promising spots. As the skin and hair start to burn, Sodal gives you a weird look. You realise that it hasn't used any of this time to graze. I'll leave the torch here. I'll prepare another one before I go to sleep. Sodal rushes you with a snort. Right away. The stream ahead can be crossed by a humble ford made of hundreds of rocks that used to reach from the bottom to the surface, but is now partially demolished, either by time or a living creature. For a rider, crossing it won't be much of a problem, but most travellers would have to take off their pants and shoes. Moving an entire wagon would pose quite a challenge. The water is clean and the banks are low, a good watering spot for Sodal. Spend some time gathering larger rocks, throwing them into the water. Now I should be good. You let Sodal graze and drink by the stream. You wander along the edge of the dark forest on one side and a colourful meadow on the other, and see rocks smaller than your head. Carrying them makes you tired quickly. After you're done, the deepest holes are now filled by your rocks. Work some more. Additional work will surely exhaust you. Eat a ration then. Ah. Can't use your inventory right now. Okay. Hour's all I need. Ooh, not unlike the boulders from days before the 10 cities, you put the last boulder, carrying the scrap of the wilderness. Even if slightly. The tightly arranged rocks remind you of a cobbled road leading to Hovlavn. Even a wagon carried by 2 mules could get to the other side without stopping. Stay around a minute or two with my hands on my hips, observing the results of my work. The path leads you uphill. The trees are getting sparser and smaller, and the more sunlight touches the ground. The signs of human touch are rare. The lone large boulder surely draws attention. You can't guess its age, but the paths around it suggest it was passed plenty of times already. The remains of red paint are covering the eastern side. It's the same message as the one you saw on the southern crossroads. Don't enter, danger ahead. You look behind you. Thank the right for protecting me. You bow your head, but as you think of words of prayer, you're beset by memories of blood and eyes. You look around whenever you hear a rustle, even your breath gets faster. You shake your head and grasp the reins firmly. Travel to... Gate in the west is... no. I'm over here now. Can I eat now? Yes, there we go. And we can travel to the secluded residence, sell some flowers. The meadow was quiet, so quiet it makes you slow down. You touch the cold chest, there's no response. Wait as long as it takes for it to let me in. Go inside, be with you soon. I brought you flowers. Her eyes widen as she moves closer to you, and I've got your dragons here. Here you go. A fine job, she says quietly, examining the petals carefully. You seem to be afraid of the bandits, Eudocia. She glances at the gate. I'm not afraid, Glaucia is fucking terrifying. Here's a little tip, and engrave it on your soul. She can't be reasoned with. If you're strong, threaten her. If weak, ask for her mercy, I guess. She wanted to work with me, but I need no right to know her soul is wicked. She takes a step towards you. I think they're somewhere deep in the woods. I don't know much about these lands. I've got other stuff to worry about. There's only one place that I know they could keep an entire band, an old lumberjack camp, but you won't reach it through any of the main roads, so she steps back. That's that. Questions about your golems. Is it for sale? One day, or I hope so, she points at a golem's hand. One wrong order and it'll tear your head away or kick over a house. It won't ever be safe, but the dead make for bad customers, and I won't be blamed for others' stupidity. Her further answers come in greater detail, but they're rather complex. From what you understand, she plans to invent a set of very specific commands that could be quickly learned, then bind them to a wand, binding it to the creature. Still not sure if it's the safest solution. If a wand was taken by a reaver, stuff could get ugly. How do you make one? I fill each rock with pneuma, bind them together. You won't build one anyway. Like alchemists and enchanters have their own secrets, but I've got a way of sharing my talents with others. Do monsters react to it? She lets out a chuckle. They flee from them as they would trolls. They can't stalk their prey or jump on them from a bush. But when they don't move for long, beasts start to take them for rocks. Not like they need to breathe, they just sit still, waiting for a road deer to get close. The golem's eye suddenly gets brighter. It jumps forward and punches the air. It lands with the sound of thunder. That's why I need them to be so large, the enchantress explains. I can't give them muscles. The speed I give them is pure pneuma. Being firm and heavy helps. She disregards your mention of the wrath of the herds. True, I make more mess than most humans would, but that's one of the reasons why I stay away from the villages, being all alone. I give the beast time to get used to my walls, and my sentinels know how to stay away from unicorns and peddlers. Do they talk? Eudocia still moves her lips, but her words are coming from the stone creature, which doesn't move an inch. No more than the gargoyle you've seen. The voice is deep, distorted by an echo. They don't need meat or bones and listen to my command, but have no understanding of what's happening around them. To create a sentient creature, you'd need a human shell, and a whole lot of necromancy. The golem raises its hand and shows you its palms, and I'm not going to touch that. She mentions that her creation isn't much of a messenger, it just needs to remain close to her. Just look at that. Just look at it. The golem covers its non-existent mouth. There's no eyes, snout, ears. Seeing the world through its head is like putting your eyeball into a rose bush. It takes pneuma, and the further away it gets, the more exhausting it gets. The roads around the watchtower are in terrible shape. Why don't your golems look after them? Why would I bother? You expected her to continue, but her question is earnest. The paths are getting overgrown. Soon the other villages will be close to impossible. She twirls her hair, looking in the direction of the tower. Maybe for the better, she starts listlessly, then shakes her head gently. You may be right. I hoped the trail would take care of itself with traders and all, but the years are getting emptier. Still, I need my workers to seek food and to guard my walls. She speaks mostly to herself. Bring you some rations in return. She observes your boots, then crosses her arms. The more bronze rods there are spread across the peninsula, the easier it is for me to send the golems into the woods. For now, let's say 5 rations. I guess gentler roads will get me more food anyway, so I don't need you to bring me any barrels. Okay, I've got 7. I'll be heading down south to buy more tomorrow. Fine, where should I put this? She makes a vague gesture towards the nearest stall. I'll give Golem new orders before I go to sleep. What's with the gargoyle? Can't an enchantress show off her trophy? She gives you a proud smile. My sentinels took it down years ago. The tribe of old Pagos is fond of statues. So I have my own. Like the old days, long before monks came to the north. Seeing your puzzled look, she twirls her hair. A dead gargoyle on the road or by a village gate was meant to scare off evil spirits. I don't know anything about that, but its sight sure taught the local beasts who they're dealing with. How about Asterion? She looks into the distance, holding one arm across her stomach and twirling her hair with the other. I should smoke aught, or at least gather wood. Summer's almost over. I could help you with that. She glances at you, but it takes her a few breaths to answer. We've no time for it, do we now? Wardens never do. Never do enchanters. She lets out a long exhale. You're someone who puts actions first. Asterion was the same. If aught happened to him, don't let yourself fall too. Your description of his appearance matches what you heard from Tulia. Don't be deceived by his height, she adds. He brought me herbs guarded by a bear folk. Not many could match his spear and bow. In return for his various favours, I shoved Numa into his cloak, making it as warm and soft as the pelt of a white wolf. Best sleep of my life. She raises her daydreaming eyes. Her voice grows confident. If Asterion is still here, I'm sure he still has the cloak. It's green, has a light hood, and embroidered leaves. Okay, when was the last time you saw him? Soon before he vanished, he was anxious, tired, unkind, but from a heavy heart. He didn't explain, I didn't ask. He rested at her place for a few hours, healed himself with magic, and prepared his equipment. She shows a surprising memory for details, but not especially useful ones. He told me he was going to start a great journey, and that he would bring back many stories. But he was afraid, I know he was. He asked for anything weird before he left, maybe he wanted something. She scratches the sand with her foot. Yes, actually, he wanted to borrow a golem of mine. She seems to finish her tale, but after seeing your look, she clears her throat. Oh, that's not an option. I've no way to stay in touch with the sentinels that are far away from here. Do you have any message for him, in case I find him? Message? Just tell him he still owes me for the cloak. He knows we're not even. It's a damn treasure. She puts on a smile, but her eyes betray her melancholy. I spend the night in your shed. She sizes you up, opens her mouth, and then lets out a sigh. I guess it is getting chilly outside, and you don't act like a bandit, so far. Just don't carry any candles inside. I store hay there. Okay, I do need to buy rations. What I really want is, what I really want is an enchanted item, like a real one full of humour. Save. What's this about? Right time to work in the city. You glance in her absent eyes. She has shown you signs of trust, but you won't convince her with just a smile. The more you learn about the peninsula, the more arguments you'll have at your disposal. Not ready yet. Okay, we'll sleep for now then. Oh, good. It's a good shelter. Good. I can heal up a bit. You lose your senses right after you lie down. In the middle of the warm, stuffy night, you are entangled by your dreams, too tired to fully wake up, too accustomed to having a mid-sleep break to just get back to sleep. You are between the realms, surrounded by visions so vivid you are tempted to reach out, touch them, and stretch them out. They are your playground. Wouldn't dare to disturb the natural flow of dreams. I accept them as they are, hoping to spot any visions they bring. You let Sodal drink outside, then close both of you in the shed. There isn't much fodder around. The dragons from the mountains wake you up with their roars, but the heavy steps of sentinels ease your soul. The yard is carefully patrolled. Some of the hay gets under your clothes, but at least your back doesn't ache in the morning. You let your palfrey outside. No soul shows up to greet you. The door of the house is ajar. The chamber was meant to only have one dweller, but even in Hovlevin it would have been seen as outrageously tiny. The air carries the scent of sweat and dirty clothes, but more importantly, smoke. A couple of fish and other pieces of meat are hanging above the hearth, even though there's no fire left. Eudocia is sitting on the floor with her back leaning against the wooden steps, legs outstretched. Feet resting on a wooden pillar. She's staring intently at a sharp dagger that she spins in place. Wait for her to say something. She ignores you for a good minute, then glances towards you with a weak smile. The house is a mess. If it bothers you, complain to the broth I made. A long pause. Take a seat, if you want. Let's rest next to her, on the floor. She nudges you with an elbow. Just don't get weird, so what do you want? Oh. I think she's starting to like me. Go outside. Let's look at the golems. Seems dead, inactive, as the city folk would call it, but the Numis still makes its chunks float less than an inch away from one another. Doesn't react to your presence. Unlike the gatekeeper, this golem bears engraved signs on its larger rocks. Their meaning is unclear to you, and you can't tell if they're a decoration or carriers of a spell. Alright. I hate how this path is like weird and awful. Okay, let's head to Pelt of the North again. And buy some rations there. Follow up. I don't remember how many days do we have left. 27. And let's see if we can do something with this trophy. And the other hunters training with spears and staves in the courtyard. Work coming from the armor's workshop. Ah. Alright, go to the well. Wash shell. Nice. Step away. The guards. Questions about the place? No. Ready to tell you what I learned about Aristos? Can't say you dispelled my doubts, she sighs. I'd rather invite someone who knows how to fight when it comes to it and won't flee without an order. Okay. Let's go to the inn. About Glacia's band. He freezes, observing your hand silently. Quick save. This has sent me to... Places has sent me to other villages. The bandits are focused on White Marshes, so she's not interested in your deal. Yeah. Without a word, he puts your payment on the counter, then glances at your nose. I appreciate that you've been so thorough. You have already done more than I've asked. I still have the crossbow to sell, so let's say we lower its price just for you. Keep up the good work. He walks towards the window, opens it and looks outside. I was afraid it might be like that. Times will get rough, yet there may never be a threat large enough to unite this bunch of anarchists. He rests his hand on the windowsill. I have another job if you're interested. I'll pay you 10 coins for finding out what Glaucia really wants. Ideally not by a direct question, but if there's no other way. He shrugs. He turns back to you and for a few words looks into your eyes. And better act before she marks you as her next prey, being a lonely traveller and all. Work with me, and I'll do my best to keep you safe if you ever decide to hide behind our walls. I'm bringing good news, I guess. Glaucia is only one target right now, and it's the necromancers of White Marshes. You have nothing to worry about, at least when it comes to her. He frowns in disbelief, asking you a few questions about what you've seen in her hideout. Before you finish with the last answer, he empties an already prepared pouch. His gestures are impatient, but the amount of dragon bones matches his promise. You did what I asked for, so these are yours now. We'll try to hunt in the north before fall, see if you're correct. Something worries you? He observes the floor a bit, but finally waves your question off. Their camp sounds like a well-protected place and hidden in a dangerous spot. He raises his eyes, though only for a moment. If you're wrong, we won't get through them easily, but that's just a thought of mine. Show me your wares. Sell me food rations. Thank you. And you know what, let's buy some corals as well. Anything of mine you'd like to buy? You take the innkeep outside to show him the head of the beast. Ah, a furless wolf, such an ugly creature. He examines the condition and gestures for you to follow him to the back of the building. It's not easy to say how much work it'll take to make this look fine, and let's be honest, it's never going to look that good. Monster trophies are worth more when they don't make you lose your appetite. He returns behind the counter. What do you say, 4 coins? Deal. You pull out some items, but the innkeeper shakes his head. I don't need those, nor I could sell them to anyone. I'd rather make coins than waste them. Bring me something of value. Pack my things. I need to ask about admin. Let me think. 3 hunters, they're missing. All 3 of them. That's bad news for us. Quite glad knowing there's pressure in the north and that beasts are being pushed towards our forest. Thanks to you, we may adjust our plan for the spring. Okay, let's change topic. Do you know anything about the healer? Don't know them. Okay. High class fur. Is it worth buying that as a commodity and selling it somewhere else? We do have extra money and we could start making rounds. Go outside, approach the guards, about the goblins. Done, most of the goblins are dead, some are back in the forest. The loot wasn't great, she sighs. Though maybe we missed something under all the feces they left behind. Well, thanks to some magic, our wounded are fine. She pushes her hair away from her neck, but I still think the place should be burned. Okay. To the inn. Guess we'll buy this big old fur rug. Oak fur. Valuable commodity. There we go. Oops. That's all I need to go outside. Travel. Alright, I guess we can start making rounds. What quest do we have to do? The innkeeper gave him 50 dragons. Durian was preparing for a great journey. Alasdale has banished Asterion as a result of his failed mission. Should be in the northern villages. Asterion bought a sickle sword from him. Pathfinders use it to cut through thickets. Heard a more detailed description of Asterion's Sauron. Larger than a horse, dark green, though the edges of its limb, tail and eyebrows are red and red-orange. Planning to restore the watchtower that stands at the eastern crossroads. Okay. According to monk Ailey, Asterion was tasked with finding iron and steel for the monastery. It's possible that he purchased some in either Gale Rocks or creeks. According to Thyrus, Asterion brought out his supplies and various poisons and bogey balms meant for beasts, including ones that live on the sea, such as harpies. He was headed for a journey. Going to Thyrus, Asterion promised to take care of the conflict between White Marshes and Glaucia, Bandit, as well as the undead kept by his own tribe. Asterion was seeking something of great value, and Glaucia, the leader of the bandits, was aiming to help him. Okay. Journal. No, wait, these are... Oh, these are completed quests, right. Run away. Missing hunters still doing. Healing the plague. The old druid from the cave has told me that the seed people from Old Pagos need to use holy seed born by the beholder. Right. Maybe I ought to hit travel counterclockwise for all this. I don't really have anything up this way at the moment. Howler's Dell was kind of in the way. I do want to check out Steep House, which is the name of the village now. I can check the trap, the fish. Let's see, it's 5.5 hours there, 45 there, so extra hour and a half. Yeah, I can make that. Travel, Steep House. Into the Goblin's lair. You return to the northwest corner of the village. The goblins may have been killed or chased off, but their smell is still around, so Sodal is just as alert as the last time you were here. You tether it in the animal pen, the one with a single boulder, allowing it to graze on struggling dry grass. Just in case, you take your blade with you, but also other pieces of equipment. You don't expect the creatures to move back, but who knows when the next scavenger will move in to feed on the remains of the pack. You stand in front of the entrance. The dried out blood now covers the older layers of dirt and rubbish. Plug my nose with scraps of fabric, maybe cover as well. It helps, but not as much as you'd like. When you find yourself surrounded by the chopped off shell parts, trash, bodily fluids and feces, your imagination fills in the blanks and vague sensations. Not looking directly at the place of carnage helps, so you raise your eyes and move forward. The building has 2 floors, with an upper one used to store straw and supplies. Since the roof's collapse, half of this place is covered with broken furniture, beams, bricks, planks, already overgrown by moss and fungi. The greenish pile makes you think of a side of a hill, though it's riddled with so many gaps that the light and rain can squeeze in between the debris. Try to avoid the puddles. See what I can find. The lair is as crude as a rat's nest, yet escapes your words and senses. The sleeping spots are made of straw, scraps of clothes, feathers and moss, but are so old and clumped together that you doubt any of them are softer than the rotting planks beneath them. The corners are filled with feces, and you don't think it would make any difference for the creatures to relieve themselves in the middle of the room. You see broken furniture and all sorts of rubbish with no specific shape, nor a purpose you can identify. A stack of bones and sharpened sticks, taller than you are. Nothing like the humble shelters that the families of apes build among the tree crowns. It's tamed chaos, an attempt at maintaining order in a place that ceased to be human structure, yet is not part of the wilderness. Just a few days ago, dozens of beasts were living here, but you can't imagine how anything could survive in such conditions. The walls are covered with black and green moulds, The floor is very much alive with countless worms, insects and small lizards, and rodents running among the dirt and fresh shells of furry goblins. The blood, guts and flesh are covering way more spots than you would hope for. Something is happening in your stomach. Quick save. Time to look for anything of value. Ready to spend even more than an hour in this place. That's fine. The painful search takes you an hour. You move the carcasses around, look into the stacks of garbage, examining the sleeping spots. By accident, you make one of the piles of furniture collapse, covering the floor with yet another layer of chaos. With every minute, you get more upset about the state of your boots and gloves, knowing that some tiresome cleaning is ahead of you. Your disappointment grows. There are many stories of goblins storing unusual treasures in their lairs, but you find not even a single dragon. Could the hunters have been so sharp-eyed in their search that they left nothing behind? Or were the goblins simply never interested in gathering things for which they found no purpose? You move a larger plank, an ex-shelf leaning against one of the mouldy walls, and reveal something curious. A group of signs made with red paint. Look at the marks closely. Let me adjust. The paint is old, placed with a noteworthy artistry. It portrays a large tree without leaves, a bunch of branches, just a bunch of branches. Saw a similar plant in the main square of Howler's Dell. Its roots grow out of a human skull, penetrating its eye sockets and open mouth, and a couple of red drops were allowed to run down the wall. Above the tree you see a single large word, though you can't read it. Go outside. The 10-year-old mystery. The clues you've gathered suggest that this lazy peninsula went through many changes 10 years ago, accidentally around the time when the southern village has fallen. You could use what you've learned to ask the locals what happened, and their trust is going to take some work. Did they sacrifice a bunch of the village or something? Feel a slight aching in your stomach. See if the fish had any. Hey, I caught fish. Pull the rope and see 2 flopping fish inside. You prepare your axe, then yada yada yada. Okay, let's take the fish trap. Dip away. Okay, we have 7 bit hours. Shall we head up to creeks then? This area is mostly empty. I'm really bothered about not being able to remember where Adon went. So Dahlia went north, Vashel went into the woods, Adon... yeah, I just don't know, I can't remember. Travel. We go all the way to the creeks, which is 6 hours. Do have time. Save and travel. Oh, we can stop by Foggy Lake on the way, actually. There's a hint of strange stench and fresh claw marks left on the ground. A large Saurian entered and left. Yeah, yada yada. Okay, into the tavern. I'd like to eat. There we go. I have some things I wanted to part with. Do you want an elk fur? Give you 20 dragon bones. She gives you no space to haggle. You're a deer, but it's already a fair offer. How am I for bones? Could get me up to 40. Alright, it's at a profit, I guess, so deal. Yeah, right, yeah, we do have fish by the lake, yes, of course, that makes sense. Quick save. Buy something. Iron scraps for the monks, I think it was. I have 1 mil left, which is good. I had a talk with Layson. What did you say? I cover up for him. Lie. After your tale, she scratches her knee. So you're saying Asterion is to blame? Fine. Though I'd rather hear about it from the hunters themselves without waiting for them to wake up. Thanks. She pats your shoulder. It's a big hat. Help. She hands you the cold pieces of bone. Here are your dragons. Let me know if you have anything else for me to do. I have already prepared what I need you to take care of. She nods towards the wooden cask that's under the table. It's not larger than your stomach. A mighty fine, strong cider, brewed it myself. Folks at White Marshes paid for it many days ago. It was meant to be a wedding gift, but no soul came to pick it up. Take it to them, dear. I know it's heavy, and I bet you're not too eager to go there, she chuckles. 3 coins is going to be plenty fine for you. Not that far from here, just don't lose it at a trader's stall. She cracks her knuckles by making a fist. Not so valuable that you'd want to sell it behind my back. You ask who exactly is meant to receive the delivery, but she waves her hand. Just ask for the mayor, Helvius. Consider it done. I'd like to eat. And we'll buy meals. There we go. And we can sleep here. And if we rent, then we're getting some health back. And we can just use dragons for it. Moon is bright and so is the night. You recognize shapes of owls and bats and spot movements on the ground. There are many stories about the moon's origins and purposes, and they're older than any of the doctrines known in the cities. These legends are not shared by religions, but rather by tribes, as if they're part of deeper conviction, something spread through the milk of mothers and wet nurses, or through the whispers of the trees and winds. Moon is a powerful spirit, guides humankind when we have no sun to protect us. Yeah, sure, we'll go with the first one. Moon gives light on nights. Okay, time for me to go. Nothing to say to the foragers. Travel. We can get to creeks this time. So we can get to creeks, then we can head over to the peat fields, I guess. Don't really need to go to Gale Rocks for anything. Hey, I want you to clear that giant tree that's in the way. A gust of wind catches some of the falling water and showers you with cool droplets. You hear chopping wood, and it takes a while before the locals open the gate. The carpenter. What do you know about the ruins in the village of the south? What about the eastern path? I restored the brook ford that connects the eastern road to the heart of the forest. Aye, I know the place. I don't think we're going to see that many wagons going through there in the next few seasons, but it must have been quite a few hours' work for a single shell, and quite close to the beasts. You realise he's not as much addressing you as thinking out loud while reaching for the wooden case. His fingers play with the contents for a bit, until he takes 2 dragon bones out of it. One for the labour, another for the threat. You must say, not too bad for carrying rocks. True, true. The more I tell my troves folk about your good work, the more often I hear them talking about you. Made a deal with Eudocia. Her sentinels are going to look after the roads that surround the watchtower. When descriptions of golems make him tighten his shoulder cloak, he grabs the casket. He holds it tightly. And you're sure they aren't going to attack anyone, seeing your unconvinced smile. He counts down 3 bones, without looking at them, lost in his thought. One day he'll be grateful for what I've done. We've started sending the foragers and hunters to farther parts of the peninsula. The monsters are still there, but the fewer surprises there are ahead of us, the easier it is to adapt. ready for your help with the fallen tree. He springs up and leads you to the square. Gather folks for wood cutting, he orders the children, and waves to the adults to gain their attention. He looks at you with a smile. We have sharp axes, full stomachs, spare wheels. 26 days, okay. Nothing like a day of grazing, napping and shitting, eh? Without waiting for your response, he addresses the approaching souls, none of them older than 30. I approach Sodal and scratch its neck. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. After a few minutes, the crowd gathers at the next bridge, organising their simple carts and wagons that are held only by ropes, joints and leather straps. You notice that one of them carries a pile of a few bulky sacks, so you ask Shoshi with a massive axe about their contents. Just food, friend. She's looking at you with excitement, moving her hips into an inaudible melody. What's on wheels light as a feather, no need to hunt in the woods. To illustrate her point, she throws her tool into the cart next to her. Keep my axe on my belt. Doesn't take long for the sounds of wheels and boots to cut through the songs of birds and insects. Your loud journey is accompanied not by the sounds of trampled and kicked rocks, but also the conversations of woodcutters who are spread around without many worries. You cross the thin gorge where Ephraim the hunter is waiting on the side of the road. He stands still, looking around like a gate guard from the city. But once you get closer, he joins you with an excited look and light steps, shaking the wolf's head. Don't worry, friend, you may be here to protect us, but my destiny is to keep you breathing to the very end. Seem happy to leave the village. Oh, I've been around. He reaches for his obsidian club and swings it left and right, trying to both move forward and demonstrate a few defensive stances. But there's always more to see, and a land as wild as this one changes with every season. You move past the tavern and head south, where you encounter Ilan and Civi, the foragers. They move through the meadows with long sticks in hand and baskets on their back, seeking food in the meadows while also scaring away any potential snakes. Once they notice your expedition, they run up the road, where the larger man asks about the others about their health and days. After a few minutes, they reach you and Ephraim. You both look like a flock of vagabonds and a squad of guards. All these axes and spears, says Ilan. Weird to see you all in one place without the walls to hide you, crude as they are. This catches my interest. The palisade isn't that bad. Ilan looks at you with an open mouth and glances at Civi, who simply shrugs. It rots a lot and some creatures squeeze through the beams, especially in the back. They steal food, and this one time they took a baby. Ephraim's voice is unusually tired. My brother often says he would like to make a wall of stone, but who knows when we'll have enough to buy it. After that, the foragers speak briefly about the plans for your group. As for the rest of the journey, they announce it's time for them to get back home. Wish them a safe walk. The farther away you get from the foraging grounds, the more quiet the tribesfolk grow. The hours of wayfaring are getting to your legs, and the atmosphere grows tense as some of your weaker companions are asking to be pulled on the carts for at least a few minutes. Ephraim looks behind you, then at you. Do you ever sing in Hovlevin during work? His words are loud, and you have no doubt that the rest of the group also heard him. Yeah, the sailors sing. How do they go? You recognize Shoshi's voice. You start with your favorite shanty, leading the group through the thick repetitive melody as a lead, then giving them time to repeat the last few words. Once everyone learns how to follow, the woman replaces you, giving your poor throat some rest, but also adjusting the words slightly. Ships turn into boats, krakens into dragons. It's hard to tell anymore if it's a song about missing home from the waves, or of the ocean, or being lost in the woods. Oh dear, my throat is dying now. This is how stories grow. Now, I probably have enough coins to afford a nice close now. We can eat here, declares the hunter as you approach the watchtower and asks the people behind him to spread the news. The carts and travellers gather in the middle of the crossroads, forming a defensive circle, while some of the folks unpack food rations. Before you sit down on the grass, Ephraim gestures for you to join him. Help me, eh? The two of you approach a wagon covered with rawhide. After the hunter pushes it aside, you instantly realize what the man plans to do. It's not much, but enough for the winter. Watch out for splinters. After a few breaths later, you lean the new door against the wall, then start removing the old pieces of wood, throwing them away. I'm surprised the carpenter built it so quickly. He didn't. The hunter points at the marks left by a spilt beverage. It used to be a table. You have no way of making a lock, but maybe the bears won't learn how to turn a knob. Let's put the old wood back on the cart. Ela will play with it for a bit. Sure. Some of the tribesfolk wander a bit further away, searching the tall grasses for food, as their habits are stronger than fear. But after the hunter orders them to regroup, they stay disciplined. After a short break, the expedition starts to restore its previous shape, while you and the hunter leave them behind. Ooh, pardon me, scouting ahead. The overgrown path twists between the hills and bushes. This route has issues much larger than a fallen tree. Your companion's voice is tired and quiet. 2, maybe 3 years, it will be safer to block it completely. Both of you reach for your blades when a sudden cry comes from down the road. It resembles an ape, a young troll, or a human tormented by visions. It lasts for a few breaths and ends as abruptly as it started, but isn't followed by any attack or even footsteps. Stay here. I crawl my way up the hill and observe the area through the shrubs. You push away the leaves and once again hear the cry. It comes from one of the goblins gathered at the side of the road, none of which looks in your direction. Their thick furs and shades of brown and black make you realize that you've encountered the very same pack in this area before. Most of them stand still in silence, either on all fours or using their crude sticks and clubs to remain upright. 2, however, are hitting the ground with their fists and shaking the empty shell of yet another goblin, an elder covered with grey fur, whose upper half is leaning against a tree, while the bottom half is a few feet away in a puddle of blood. The guts spilling out of its stomach don't suggest a promising diagnosis. You get back to Ephraim, who's too focused on his cudgel to adjust the tilted wolf's head. So? Goblins, more than a dozen, they're mourning their dead leader. So it's been wailing. I didn't know they cared. I mean, they get caught by beasts as often as we do. He then frowns, as if his words make him unsure. But after he shakes his head and adjusts his hat, his confident self returns. Well, there's more of them among the trees, keeping watch. Let's gather a fair group of fighters and strike them first. Agreed, you know who to pick, and it won't take long before the pack is crushed. Once everyone's ready, the battle takes not even a minute. The hunters, foragers, and woodcutters may not be experienced soldiers, but their light equipment allows them to get close to the pack, and once they're noticed, their long, sharp spears and axes make their charge devastating. A few of the beasts, unaware of the scale of the threat, die before they can land a single hit, while the rest of the group drop whatever they're holding and disappear among the leaves, too nimble for any human to catch up with. A few of the tribesfolk are searching the area, removing goblin tusks from their jaws and pushing the corpses deeper into the bushes, so they won't get caught in the wheels. Ephraim takes a look at the weapons, but decides to only keep what seems like a human-made axe head and a rusty dagger. Anything worth picking up? Not really. Their furs smell like shit. He considers handing you the dagger, but you realize its worth is negligible. All of it needs some extra work. I'll tell Ela to pay you another dragon bone once we're back. He then orders his people to tell the carts and wagons to regroup, and you step away from the blood that reaches your boots slowly. Make sure no one got left behind. That's not too bad, says Shoshi as you reach the fallen tree. It's thin, we can surround it. The workers divide the tools and use the carts and wagons to form a barricade, explaining that they'll move them once again when it comes to loading timber on them. You prepare your own belongings when you notice that the tribe awaits your command. You can start whenever you're ready. I'll keep an eye on our surroundings. The broken wagon is the first task that the workers take care of. The few dozen souls that arrived here would be enough to simply push the tree to one side, and what would be an exhausting task for lesser numbers will take them little time. Use the crags to observe the area, moving around without haste. The distracting noises of your group scare away many creatures. The eyes that observe you are mostly spread among the tree crowns and the highest points of the hills. You spot a few ibexes, monkeys, and many birds, but no cats, runners, dragonlings, or wolves. I'm sitting in a saddle. The swords and axes split the tree in a few spots at once, while the less experienced members of the group trim the branches and carry loads of wood until they are asked to replace the exhausted woodcutters. Then the work slows down, but never stops, and while the constant noise finally lures the presence of a small dragon that's walking on 4 legs, each one as large as a human, seeing your large group makes it turn back, even though you would most likely be unable to pierce through its skin. After another few hours, no one has enough fortitude to start another conversation. Once the carts and wagons are ready, the crew demands a half-hour break. Can't avoid it. The road back is rough. The heavy blocks of wood require dragging the crew to take turns every few minutes or so, hoping that no one will be pushed to exhaustion. Crossing the bridge is the worst part. Lifting and dropping the vehicles is too dangerous for the primitive wheels, and one of them breaks, needing to be replaced on the spot. One of the foragers finally proposes heaping up soil into a temporary gentle slopes, which once again takes a lot of time. You and Ephraim sit down at the stream bank, observing the water. Let's hope we reach the tavern before nightfall, he states simply. You're so exhausted that seeking an answer takes you a bit of time. Where does the stream go, actually? Oh, I don't know. The sea, maybe? I think it goes through the heart of the woods, but the terrain here is so uneven I've no clue. Maybe it fills a big hole somewhere, beneath a cave somewhere. Once you're ready for the rest of the journey, you don't really feel like getting on your feet. Almost there. I do my best to try and sound hopeful. Boggy and her crew welcome you at the gate with their few tables and benches and chairs moved outside the palisade, inviting everyone to sit down and eat, though more than half of the crew has to sit down on the wagons. 2 of the foragers refuse the meal, instead laying on the soft grass. You will get a bowl of warm stew, heavy and fat, with snake eggs placed on top of a piece of pheasant meat. The vegetables are properly seasoned and juicy, though you'd love to have an extra pinch of salt. The worst part of the road is behind you, and while people remain quiet, they eat with enthusiasm. The tavern keeper approaches you and Ephraim. It may be dark, but you feel as if she's covering you with a devouring shadow. Well, loves, how's the road? Worth the effort? Try to keep the conversation going. While the hunter sighs, too tired to say a word, you indulge her appetite for gossip. You describe what you've seen, and as she scratches her large chin, she seems unsure what to say. So the real gloom is behind the tower, but even before it will need more work. You chit-chat until Ephraim starts to wake up the napping workers with his boot. I smile at her. No time to waste, I guess. Saved. A woman with a large axe crosses the gorge with laughter, and the expedition leaves the carts and wagons in front of the bridge. Seeing how dark it is, you're not surprised to learn unloading it will occur after dawn. Not like anyone's going to steal it, says one of the foragers, though everyone makes sure to take the remaining food rations. We were lucky, but let's not tempt the beast, says the hunter. The rest of the tribe welcomes your group from the open gate, and relieved laughter fills the little village. They seem surprised to learn that no one got seriously wounded. Ela and Ephraim share a brief embrace, but the carpenter doesn't hesitate to mention the hunter's smell. You realize you also need a long bath. If they betray me now, I'll kill them all. Time to collect my reward. The carpenter reaches for a lit torch and asks you to follow him. I meant to pay you one more dragon, so be it. I'd pay 4 times as much for keeping everyone safe. You did a good job, friend. He opens the wooden cask and counts down the pieces of bone. Tell me, Buta, what do you think? How's the road? You know how a merchant may feel on it. I've seen many roads. There's nothing unique about this one. Protect it and it'll be safer. Neglect it and it'll be lost. He gives you a long look and finally nods. His lips are pursed until they shape into a sad smile. You're right, it was just one of many days in the wilderness for you. I often forget that there's a vast world outside the peninsula. Maybe we can shape the small scrap of land with hard work. I wait patiently. I think he wants to keep talking. The carpenter pauses for a long while, then starts to draw an invisible map on the workbench with his fingers, muttering to himself. Yes, he says slowly. You've already done more on the road than I've expected, friend. I dare say more than any outsider in this generation. The tribe can take it from here. He reaches for something resting on a log beneath the table, then turns it towards you. You've already received your pay, but maybe you'd like to take a hair pelt as a gift. Foggy doesn't need it, but you'll get a dragon for it, or dragon or two for it in another village. You take a look at the fine fur and roll it into a more mobile shape. Seeing how Ela observes you, you tell him just to ask. I can't figure out what pushed you to be this much of a help to us, friend. I know some of the things you've seen were just on your path, but others took a true risk. Creeks is a lovely place. I hope it succeeds. His proud smile is followed by a victorious stance. It's one of a kind, eh? And living here is only going to get better. I'll put my whole life into making sure of that. He rests one hand on his stomach and reaches out to you with another. Come here. Another spring, or later, you'll see a real change in the peninsula. I shake his hand. I'm sure I will. Or his large hand is calloused, and even the brief touch is enough to notice the cuts and chopped off skin, signs of amateurish labour. I doubt you'll find much more to do on this route, but if I turn out to be wrong, let me know. He then sits down on a stool and looks at his tools with a big smile. Wondering about Ephraim. He slowly starts to speak, making sure his tribesfolk don't eavesdrop. His soul is clouded. He thinks we have no right to waste what the dead have sacrificed for our sake, and that we disrespect them by staying weak. But all of it is just a cloak that hides him. He cares not about respect, it's about his guilt. It takes a bit of convincing before he explains what he means by that. Our father died from claws, our mother from a bad birth. We used to have 5 brothers and sisters, all of them dead now. Some maybe could have been saved, but not all, and surely not by being stronger. Yet Ephraim keeps thinking he had every opportunity to fix the tragedies, and he's to blame for letting them down. Him and I both. But at least I put my shame to use. He reaches for his tools again. We already have everything that we need. A beautiful home, enough food, fewer beasts than ever. It's going to be a rough lifetime for us. He takes a swing. But our kids will be fine. Hey, the village in the south. He freezes for a good moment, and finally takes a deep breath, putting away his tools and looks you in the eyes. His fingers are moving slowly, as if he's trying to warm them up before playing on a lute. Don't push me on to those dark grounds, Buta. I've been stepping on them for years, but I still struggle, please. Ela, I need to know what happened 10 years ago. Don't you trust me? I do, Buta, I do. His voice is close to a whimper. But can't you see I'm in pain? I beg you, let me die with this shame. Aren't we all friends? His hands are clasped on his stomach, putting pressure on it, as if he's trying to stop some invisible bleeding. Stop it. Deal with your shame by being honest with me. He bites his lower lips and looks away. Troll piss and shit, Roadwarden. Fine. He stands up, pointing at you with his clenched fists, suddenly filled by a spirit you've never seen before. What do you want me to say? That I was there, as well as my parents and parents of others from our village, that Thesis wanted to make an example of Steep House? Thesis did. Hang on. Make an example. The Mayor of Howlers. Ooh. Oh, I see. So that's how that worked. Thesis wanted to make an example of Steep House and told us to either help her or be next in line. He spread his arms. I, the great uniter of the North. We went there with her myrmidons, left dust and hunger behind, and the beast herds came after us, angry for the burnt and cut trees. Too bad once that happened, no soul wanted to deal with that two-faced weasel. His voice cracks. We cut the flesh of innocents to save our own, and we got nothing from it. You flinch when he raises his hand and moves towards you, even though his gesture is not much of an attack, as in a way for him to let out some of his fire. Seeing your reaction, he slows down, but that only makes his voice louder. You already knew all of that, didn't you? You just had to test my last wits for your games. What do you think? You'll take the blood from my blade and wake up that fucking boy? Other people in the yard cease their work and observe you. You hear a child crying. What? You think you'll take the blood from my blade and wake up that fucking boy? I speak softly. You're a victim, not a villain. Thesis would have struck them with or without you, and maybe kill you as well, but you're alive and you try to put your life to good use. There are no words, he starts, swallowing his tears, and flounders through the sounds. No words that can wash my dreams, Buta. I can't be forgiven. I can't fix anything. He turns around and lurches into the building with his tools. The sad look of others still follow you, but the life returns slowly to the small village of creeks. We speak another time. Having discovered the truth, you could force the people of Hallersdale to confront their past, though they may not take kindly to your threats and requests. The more you learn about their deeds and conflicts, the more tools you'll have to use against them, if they'll listen to me at all. Okay. Okay, Ephraim. You ever had an opportunity to work with Orestos from Hallersdale and Cassia from Gale Rocks? Aye, with both of them, but I'd rather hunt for frogs than waste my time teaching both how not to trip over their own feet. He rubs their forehead of his wolf, not aware that you're waiting for him to tell you more. What, surprised? Yeah, finally adds. Orestos barely knows how to catch a rabbit or a sparrow. He's as much of a trapper as a child with a stick and as a soldier. And Cassia is even worse. Big mouth, sure, but whenever we seek blades at Gale Rocks to help us catch big prey, she suddenly gets a headache. Okay. About Ela. He scratches the wolf's head, then nods. He's boring, you know that, and hides a lot behind those smiles of his. He spends days in the workshop, thinking we may be both as weak as we are now and smart enough to prosper. There's work to be done, he mimics his carpenter's cadence. Aye, there always is. You speak to ask about the weakness, but he gives you no time to speak. There's almost no folks from the older generations left, did you notice? Foggy and Old Haver are the only two still capable of doing work, but they aren't getting any younger and are already wounded. You think about the tavern keeper's lost arm. We were always lacking in numbers, blades, tools and skills. The beast took many souls, but Elo won't talk about it. He'd rather forget them and tie this place to the other villages, making us merchants and rotten carpenters. He adjusts his cloak, boiling in from frustration. Then risk the lives of the younger tribes folk on training and hunting. We've suffered so much, yet we're becoming even weaker. About the hunters, Vashal's dead. He keeps chipping in until you tell him to listen to the end. He respects your wish, though he frowns so much that you wonder if he can see you. So you really don't know what happened, just that there's shells in the woods. He gives you a long look but finally nods. Any evidence? Put this earring from their shell. He observes it for a few moments, then lets out a sigh. So you did. They made this when they were but a little kid, and told me that once they had a child, they would never wear such ugly things. Their words. He lowers his fists, then looks towards the entrance of the village. I mean, it's not such a bad drunk man. It's elegant. Thanks for the help, friend. After this word, Efren is unusually quiet. I'll tell you if I find anything. Good hunting. I was asking about the merchants. Our hunters push away the beasts. It's not safe enough for us to keep roaming from here to there on a whim. But you're right, Roadwarden. I'm just a farmer with a past. During the pause that follows, a cold gust of wind ruffles your cloak. It's Foggy who speaks of travellers and merchants, knows how to price wares and labours. We need both her place and her experience, but you know how these roads are. When we need to resupply, we can send a whole expedition with a cart, not a lonely peddler. Supplies. Spiced wholemeal. Cooked with care. And that's a fish trap. Okay, farewell. Okay, we're slightly cleaner now. Closest shelter is at Foggy Lake. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I think I've done enough to earn your trust. Tell me more about the stuff at Sterion Port you. She observes you, and with the patience of a statue, then sends the one-handed man outside with a nod. After a minute, she brings up from the basement a simple package covered with wax, tied together with a couple of cords. She removes them in silence. The scent of honey fills the air. She raises a dark cloak, green like trees covered by shadows. The shape of leaves it's his cloak. They're the size of your hands. Read above it. Okay, let's actually read it. The shape of leaves are embroidered on the surf with a silver-like thread from the hood to the very bottom. They're the size of your hand, spread sparsely, elegant. Each one is different. It's heavy, most likely rainproof, but the inner layer is downy, made from lamb's wool. Every scap of this garment was touched by a master. There's magic in it. Foggy's voice is solemn. Keeps you warm at night without a fireplace. Makes rocks feel like fur. Why did he sell it to you? He needed dragon bones, was planning to travel somewhere, needed coins for a boat. She folds the cloak and packs it again, tying the cords with her thoughts. I told him to look for it in Gale Rocks. You wait for her to go on, but she changes the topic. Wanted to sell it for 50 dragons, but if you're interested, we'll see. I won't ask for a fortune from a friend. Where was he headed, Foggy? I told you everything I know, love. She holds the package with her elbow. Take it from here on your own. $16 for a Sterion's cloak? Hell yeah. Sure. Do I have any iron scraps on me? Yeah, and I'll buy those too. Okay, we're asleep. And we need to heal up so we can rent for the night as well. The shivers wake you up. Foggy is standing by the open door, letting the dense fog in with her back lit by a lantern. While she breathes slowly, her eyes are keenly observing the area, and after you focus you hear the startled shouts of roaming saurians. Stay inside, hoping there are no curses carried by the fog. This is new. You're in the labyrinth of alleys and steep house which shifts after every step. You wander by the blooming gardens, burning houses, laughing newlyweds, cut off limbs, fresh hair, pies, chewed bones, carts loaded with barrels and falling trees. You're sitting at a table in front of the Ape Ale Inn, surrounded by laughing skeletons. Thesis, naked and covered in blood and ashes, holds your hand, forcing you to stuff your mouth with raw meat from a bottomless bowl. Every bite, tasting like the metal of an old key, burns your mouth, but you can't scream. The unyielding grass brings pain and delight in equal measure, and you wouldn't dare to try and escape it. The smoke coming from your roasting flesh starts to fill your eyes, but they have no tears to spare. You wake up and reach for a water skin so you can rinse the ash from your hand. It takes you a few heartbeats before you realize where you are. Surely the villagers wouldn't have agreed to it. Must be Thasis's problem. Let's eat. Okay, time for me to go. The mysterious destination. According to the rumors, Asterion has travelled to some unknown island. Knows a lot about these lands. I think that's where I'm going to call it for tonight. As interesting as this is all getting. Inventory, still got supplies, which is good. I have a bunch of crossbow bolts as well. Is also good. Character sheet. Combat experience, high, good. Spared animals, hardly any. Religion, member of the United Church. Faith, decent. Lies, hardly any. Sewing experience, none. Gambling experience, none. Okay. Yep, this is where I'm going to call it for tonight. As always, thank you for watching. Over the weekend, I'll make a schedule. It's going to be more Grandia and Roadwarden, because, hey, I really like this. Maybe a demo or two that I found on itch, but we'll see. Bye bye.